So we are a last minute kind of addition to the programme here. So my name is Coulter from Construction Coach. I'm the Managing Director, and I also chair the Diversity and Inclusion Panel for the Construction Industry Council, and I'm a non-executive director for them as well. I'm joined by James Gilbert, who's the Managing Director of Subby, and we've also got Sophie Orrell, who's the Managing Director of Support. Now, how we came about today was that we're all working with subcontractors basically, and we're aware of the mental health challenges that these small businesses are going through at the moment. So we really wanted to raise awareness about that. It was interesting this morning listening to Lord Digby Jones, who was on the main stage. I don't know if you were there this morning, but one of the things that he talked about was the fact that late payments are the cancer of the construction industry, which I thought was a very strong point, but obviously it's something that as an industry we need to progress. So, I mean, I've been working with small medium enterprises and SMEs and micro businesses for quite a few years. My background is construction. I used to be a quantity surveyor and a project manager, and then I became a coach. And I've been working a lot with these small businesses and really noticed what the trends are, and I've seen people struggling with cash flow and the links with mental health and how that's impacting on their well-being. So that's why I've sort of got these two brilliant people today to really raise awareness about this issue, and you know, we need to do something about it basically. So I'm going to get my lovely panelists to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask them a few questions to share their experiences. Sophie's got some stories that she's going to share about subcontractors that she's working with. James is going to share about his journey in the industry with mental health challenges as well, and how he ended up doing what he's doing today. And then we're just going to have a discussion, and we'll open it up for questions as well. So thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Just check it's on. Yeah. So, as you know, Managing Director of Subby, I put Subby together to really put an online community there for the SMEs that are out there. You know, and focus on what I'd experienced, everything from buying power, saving on products, whatever it might be, to just the main thing of finding the work. So we put that together online. We have got an app as well, but we're just going to take it steady, get them familiar with the product, and then use the app again. So, you know, moving forward, really focusing on the support, the savings, and tapping into products and services that I think these SMEs feel they either can't afford or can't access. So that's a bit about Subby. Going on to Sophie now.
And then I'll come back to you.
Hi, I'm Sophie Orrell, the Director of Support. Well, one of them. The other one is there, but he's the quiet one. So I am an accountant by trade, and I spent a long time working for main contractors. The big ones, you'd all recognise the names of the ones that I worked for. And basically, myself and Simon met each other while working for a big main contractor. He's a QS by trade, and we didn't like the way that subcontractors were treated. We both did things that we didn't necessarily feel comfortable with doing, and saw some subcontractors in very bad ways, and basically had to do what we were told to do to make the main contractors more money. And from that, we decided to go and set up our own company, take our skills that we'd learned and use them to support the subcontractors. And since then we have predominantly become a QS consultancy, but we only work with subcontractors, so we help them basically make more money, and the money that they're entitled to as well, you know, the money that they tendered out, the variations that they're entitled to, the final account settlements that they're entitled to, where they don't necessarily have the commercial skills to be able to do that themselves, or the time to be able to do that either. We take that off their hands. So that's where we came from, and that's what we feel passionate about.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. I mean, the title of this session that we put was the impact of the race to the bottom on mental health. So there's a lot of talk in our industry about the race to the bottom. I don't know if you read the Dame Judith Hackett report after the Grenfell inquiry she mentioned specifically about the race to the bottom, about the culture of the industry, about the fact that it's about cutting costs, about the lowest tenderers winning, and you know, can you just shave off a couple of £100 off this, and you know, there's all of this fear factor that's impacting on the culture of our industry. And we put out feelers to try and get some subcontractors to come and talk on the panel, but the challenge that we had was, well, first of all, they didn't want to take a day off the tools, take a day out of their business, because then they'd be losing money essentially. So they didn't want to be losing money to talk about losing money, which kind of makes sense, which is why we're doing Facebook Lives and things like that, to just spread the word a bit more. But also, I think it was that they didn't want to talk about their own challenges on a public forum as well, because you know, it is a very sort of personal experience, and not everybody is ready to share and wants to talk out loud about things, or to people that, you know, they don't know. So, but we were passionate about this subject, and we really wanted to, you know, get their voices heard, so we can come together today to do just that. So James, you're going to share with us your experiences, because you were on the tools originally and you've had your challenges as well, and I guess that's driven you to do what you do now.
Yeah, I mean, I did my apprenticeship 17 carpentry, and you know, I loved it. I loved the fact that I was doing the same as what my dad does, and you know, moving that direction. And I think everything that I've seen, from commercial, residential, I even moved on to doing film and television sets as well. But ultimately, Subby came from my own frustrations, the issues that I was having, late payments, not getting access to this, and not getting support here where I needed it. And it did, I mean, my mental health issues and what I've been through stem more from Subby rather than being on the tools. But I was living the lifestyle that I was when I was on the tools, which is very different. You know, you go from that, what you know so well, to something very new. You have to make a change, and sadly, like a lot of people, I had to get to maybe we call it breaking point, crazy thoughts, and that kind of side of it, before I made a change. But you know, I meditate now every day. Try and get 30 minutes in, and I train every day. Try to watch how much I drink in the week. That's a work in progress. But you know, it's so important, because we do feel isolated. There's no way out, and I think most importantly is that as a demographic of people, we're not talkers, we're not sharers. It's just not what we do, and you're kind of suffering in silence. So that's why, you know, Subby is what it is. I'm passionate about this and sharing my story, and a bit that, you know, the Subbies that we did ask to come today will think, yeah, I'm going to speak up, I'm going to share what I've been through, and hopefully some people who should be listening will start listening.
Yeah, definitely. And Sophie, I think your story is really interesting, because you've come out from a contractor's point of view and now a subcontractor's point of view. So first of all, like, what were the pressures that you were experiencing from your contract, you know, from the contractor, from the main contractor, to really sort of squeeze the subcontractors, which is the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, because when I'm now working for a subcontractor, I know that there's a main contractor, QS or accountant on the other side, and I understand how much pressure they are under as an individual. It is their job to make as much money as they can possibly make on a project, and it is the finance team's job to meet their monthly cash flow forecast, and they're under an immense amount of pressure to do that. For example, when I've worked for all of the main contractors that I've worked for, there's a payment run. The payment run fits in with the cash flow forecast that's been done up in head office by some whizzy accountants who built a model, and then you're given your payment run, which may be a few million, and told to cut it because it doesn't meet the cash flow forecast. Now, you would have to do that. You would literally have to go down and strike out subcontractors that you weren't going to pay, and just hope that they survived until the next payment run. Now, that was my job at the time. You know, my business partner Simon has been in positions where, you know, the package has been 100 grand. It's probably really worth about 120 now, but that doesn't matter. It's 100 grand and that's the end of it. And he gets a pat on the back when he walks out of that meeting. The subcontractor could be walking out of that meeting and not being able to pay his wages or pay his VAT bill, and his company be going, disappearing in front of his eyes. So I'm sympathetic to a point with the people that I'm dealing with on the other side. But it's a whole culture change, and I think the main contractors do a lot in terms of PR to make people think that they are changing, and then there's a bit in the middle where that gets a bit confused, and then it goes down to a QS finance manager level where they're just basically told to make as much money, and I do believe that the people right at the top don't think it's happening that much anymore, but it is. It's still happening all the time.
And what about like specific companies that you've worked with, who are like struggling, the stories that you've encountered in your company?
So we've got a wide range of subcontractors now, and it is really tough. Even the ones that are making decent margins on the tenders, it's still really tough, and it's tough because it's cash flow. It's very rare that you get decent payment terms still within your contract, so we're always fighting for that. But they're always just on the breadline, they're on the brink of their overdraft facilities, and they're just literally getting by week, and it's things like you don't make that much money anyway, then your retention's held back, then you've paid out all your labour, you've paid out all your materials, and then you don't get paid by a main contractor because things like their payment systems down for the week, and that has a massive effect. This person is late awake at night not knowing how he's going to pay his lad's wages at the end of the day, and there's personal guarantees on his house if the company goes bankrupt. So they literally, all of them struggle with this every single day. There's not a subcontractor out there that I know that has a healthy cash flow and they don't have to worry about cash. They're living on that breadline week by week.
And if there is, please tell us and we'll share your secrets with everybody else. I was just going to come to you,
Yeah, I was just, it's a great point because that Sophie's just made. It's the ramifications that it has, not just on the business, but your family life. Whether it's $1,000 or $100,000, you're talking Christmas dinners, you're talking kids' birthday presents and stuff like that, and it's all on the line. And I just don't think it's being taken as seriously as it should be, especially when subbies are making up well over 90% of the industry. So they're pretty key with that percentage. So I think we've got to change the way we look at this.
And tell me about sort of what led you to start Subby and how you'll support the subcontractors in Subby to be more robust, because I think it is about sort of building more robust, like sustainable businesses really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think similar to what I've said about the mental health, the subby also is a difficult beast, so to speak, because they don't want to be helped and they don't want to be told what to do. But what we're trying to do at Subby with the likes of Sophie and Subboard is open their eyes to these services, that they're out there, and you can get a QS to come and help you, and it's not going to ruin the cash flow. You can get them as and when you need them. We've got to give them more buying power and opportunities, but it really is, it's tough to open their eyes because they're ultimately just preparing for what's coming.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've found is that there is quite a negative culture with subcontractors. I'm in some Facebook forums and they're talking a lot about kind of the problems and the challenges and the mental health and things like that, but they seem to be really hard to reach, and I think that's what the industry really feels, because like I say, I chair the diversity inclusion panel. I'm a non-executive director for the Construction Industry Council. I'm always banging the drum about the subcontractor wherever I go. If I'm ever at a conference or a panel or something like that, I'm talking about the fact that there's 96% SMEs, micro businesses in the industry, and we've got to get to those people, but they're really hard to get to. And if they're not a member of a trade organisation, if they're not paying the CITB levy, if they're not engaged, if they're all just talking to themselves, then how do we crack that nut?
Do you want to go? Yeah, go.
I think that one of the problems that we've come across with subcontractors as well is that we might go into them and we might say, we can really help you with all of these things, we can do this for you, we can do that for you, but there's a tiny bit of a fear element as well. They've got relationships with different main contractors and they don't want to do anything to jeopardise it. They're kind of under their thumb in a way. And we've had experiences of, some of our subcontractors, which is absolutely fine, don't like anybody to know that they're using us, so we'll do things kind of under the radar and it'll go from there. Because they're worried that they'll kind of get in trouble for using us and it'll break a relationship that they've got, which they need to keep the order book coming. And it shouldn't be that way. We never go into a subcontractor and want to be really aggressive and start off on that foot. We just want to go into a subcontractor's, start a relationship with the QS on the other side and keep that relationship nice and fair the whole way through. Never get to that point where you're actually in a battle, which is the point that they seem to end up in. And that's when they're scared about, maybe getting some other support or getting some other advice because they don't want that relationship to fall down and ultimately their business to lose the sales.
Yeah, I could totally relate to that. I was working with a subcontractor who didn't want to go for any variations or anything like that because he was scared that he wouldn't get any more work with them basically, and also, and he was taking the hit for coordination issues. So if he couldn't get access to a certain room or area, he was an M&E contractor, he couldn't get access. He was taking that hit and he was having to throw all the resources at it at the end of the project. And I sat down with him and just went through it with him and said, look, that's all your profit margin gone. You've basically eaten into your profit margin by not protecting yourself. So James, how can we start to break through that fear factor and start to get them to expand their thinking and protect themselves more? Big question.
It's definitely going to be a tough one to crack. But, I think more and more as we push on with Subby, the key is to, we all try to get Subbies here today. I had a dozen phone calls and more than happy to share with me over the phone the problems, the issues, the way they're feeling. Mention 3 rows of people and it's a definite no. But hopefully over the coming months we're going to get a few Subbies that are going to take it on, embrace it, working with Sophie and support. And I think once they stand up and say we did it, we're doing better, it will slowly follow. But I think the main thing is we're making a start today.
Yeah, and also I'm thinking about, is there something that we can do around getting groups of people together to talk and share their experiences and, start talking more?
We tried to run the Subby hubs. We did the first one in Liverpool. Albeit it was the hottest day of the year. Again, like we've said today, they're losing money by coming here. It's tough to find the time. When's the right time? But just got to keep working at it, keep finding the right way, and I'm sure we will get there in the end.
I think one of the things that you touched on before was really interesting about the meditation, because if people are in fear, they can't think, it shuts down the creative thinking part of their brain, and when you're having some challenges, you need to think creatively to get out of it. So would you mind sharing your experiences of, not that I want to put you on the spot, but I totally am. We're in the well-being stage.
It's why we're here. And I'm more than happy to share. I think,
talk about how that's helped you.
I'll be completely honest. When it was first put as an idea to do, I think it was shut up or go away or leave me alone. One of those 3. But in the end, it's not. I don't use it as a time to think. I use it as a time to not do anything and just come away from everything. I was running a completely different business to my business before, investors and marketing and this and everything going on, and it's half an hour a day where the phone's off and there's no one around to bother me. So I use it in that way to start my day off with a bit of peace and quiet. But I highly recommend it.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know if any of you were here this morning, but there's a woman called Joanna May did a meditation. I don't know if any of you are here for that. But she's on a mission to try and bring meditation to the construction industry. So I think, you know, starting with mindset is obviously so important if people can expand their minds and expand their thinking.
Yeah, just one more. Yeah, I think this is no disrespect to meditation or anything like that, but there is a stereotype with how people view it. And I think with the people, the demographic that we're talking about here, we have to get across that you don't have to go and sit in a room with a lot you know, people you don't know and meditate and really get, like, let's say going down a yoga route. You can just go and take half an hour and just turn everything off and just shut off. It's not, you know, it doesn't have to be made a big deal out of, but it's really, really important to just walk away and just shut off for half an hour, give your brain a bit of TLC.
So it's true. And Sophie, based on your experiences with the contractors, how do you think, I mean, there must have been some contractors in the audience this morning listening to, you know, people talk about late payments being the cancer of the industry. You know, how do we start to get contractors to wake up to the damage that they're doing to people and the damage that they're doing to their mental health, and how do we do that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the big ones, I think there'll be probably whole departments within the main contractors, supply chain, procurement departments that really do believe that that's what they're working towards, and that they'll be ticking that box that they're doing that. The issue is the financial pressures that they're under. When it comes down to it, it's all about money, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's why businesses are here, really. So it's starting from right at the top and understand how it starts off so well, but by the time it gets down to a project and project level staff, what's really going on there, and making sure that whatever schemes that they've got running in these main contractors are making their way fully down to the site level, and maybe producing KPIs and things like that from a project level, not just right at the top, because that's where the damage is happening. And I think that, you know, a lot of, you know, the boards of main contractors probably are unaware of it, and like I say, probably do believe that they are striving towards better ways of looking after the supply chain.
It's so ironic because you've got all of these drives and these big companies to attract the next generation into the industry, but then they're going to attract people, but then they've got to think about their supply network and the people who are actually delivering the work. And if they're working on a site where there's a fear culture, where they're not getting paid properly, whether they're not engaged, you know, they're struggling, then that isn't going to create the right environment to sort of bring people into the industry in the first place.
Yeah, it doesn't create the right environment for a successful project completion either.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, this is what we try and get across, and it is one mission of mine is to build relationships with main contractors. We don't want to be this company where they think, oh God, they've got a QS and this is going to be hard work now. I want them to think, oh great, this subcontractor's got a QS, this is going to make both of our lives easier, and we're all going to walk away from this with money in our pockets. It shouldn't be like that. It should be about a fair, happy project that completes at the end and everybody walks away making money.
That would be awesome. Okay, I'm conscious of time. Has anybody got any questions that they want to ask the panel or ask me, or anything they want to add?
I've got a question. My name's Lisa, by the way. I'm from the East Midlands Chamber.
Ah, okay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, my name's Lisa. I'm from the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce. I'm actually a business advisor as well in the Leicestershire Business Gateway Growth Hub. So you mentioned earlier about how it's hard to get to people. So what role do you think that the LEP in particular should play in helping to do that? Because I guess at ground level, that's what we're tasked with doing. We're going out meeting businesses, startups, SMEs, sometimes in the construction industry, and helping them really to grow and develop. And often with that, you know, we're talking about things that are really are affecting them. So I think there's a platform there to sort of help further, you know, signpost to organisations, and maybe we need to just do more work in that sense. So I guess my question is, what role do you think the LEP should play in that, and should they do more, and how should they do more?
I think they have done something. So I'm based in the East Midlands and I got some funding from the LEP from the D2N2 Derbyshire Nottinghamshire, and it was through the Learn and Support for the Workforce Fund, and I produced a programme called 1 Hour to Change, which was a series of online webinars, podcasts and films to help small businesses like grow and be more profitable. And we had webinars on mental health, we had them on like how do they improve their profitability, we did one on like marketing and social media. So we're trying to sort of look at, you know, the different areas where they needed help. So I think that like online is a really good way of reaching these small businesses, because we've seen firsthand that they don't necessarily want to take time out to attend events like this and have their voices heard. But if they've got an online sort of platform, or they've got resources and tools that they can access online that can help them, and we can start to build some sort of a community with them, I think there's a real good opportunity, you know, like Facebook groups and things like that, to bring people together so that they can start to you know, help each other and give them resources and tools that's going to help them. And I think something like that can be replicated across the whole of the UK, basically.
Add to that. We did when we still do run the Subby podcast, and we've had various different guests, but we had one guest, Michael Byrne. He's involved with a mental health charity called Let's, and they're taking a real different view to it. You know, take away this sitting in a room with a box of tissues and crying, pouring your heart out, is just go and have a chat. And out of all the podcasts that we've done, the feedback and contact that I got that then went on to Michael was incredible, because I think it's a way of getting it across without ramming it down them. They've got an opportunity to hear on their own terms and do as they please with it. And that really works. So a podcast could be a good idea.
And if you want to do some podcasts in the East Midlands. Thank you. Has anybody else got any questions? Yeah?
Hi, my name is Michael Davis. I spent 20 years in construction industry due to illness and disability. Changed for it. When I was studying public health, and this health and well-being elements is really interesting to me personally. I just feel that you know, because you worked in the industry, I'm a carpenter, and you had that passion for it, you know, that you want to sort of do something and give something back, and that's where I'm coming from. I'm also trying to learn as to the kind of concerns that people are going through and the issues that they're having to deal with. And it certainly sounds, you know, quite bad. I mean, I know financially everyone's being hit, but it's the people at the bottom who tend to get hit hardest. And I was wondering, you know, obviously you've got experience with regards to dealing with subcontractors and the kind of issues that they're having to suffer with. They're aware that it's 2 people a week committing suicide in construction. You know, it's quite hard. I was wondering if you've had any sort of dealings with anyone who's sort of been related to any of that, or if it's something that you've had to make aware.
You can.
Yeah. I've had some very sad calls, yeah, very, you know, really worrying, where they've just got nowhere to turn. But I think, you know, with what Subby is about that, having somewhere to turn to, no matter what they might need help with, from any, you know, getting some workwear, or they need to get mental support, just to put it there for them so they can get at it. You know, this is, I think the main problem is, like you say, they're at the bottom of the food chain and they're isolated. And there's a lot of big organisations, and don't get me wrong, they do fantastic work, but there's a lot of people being missed. And, you know, 2 a week is too many at the end of the day. I think I've had a lot of success with talking to the subbies about it, because they know I am, however you want to look at it. And I'm going to keep kind of trying to use that to say, you know, come and have a chat, just have a chat. Because it's amazing in that chat, whether it might be, you know, needing support from Sophie, or needing this or that, just have the chat, and see what happens. But I think, like I said about the podcast, it's the minute that you come across pushy or too much or over the top, they'll just switch off. I think you have to try and find the kind of ways and ideas of inviting them in to get them to open up, and then you're off. So that's if that answers your question, or helps at least. Let me just come back over there.
Yeah, it's trying to provide the positive opportunities, and it's not always opportunities that's obvious. It's trying to, it's what they say, looking outside the box in a way. So because they're sort of stuck in the situation, basically what causes the frustration and the breakdown. Because you've obviously got the capacity of communication between their main contractors, but when that conversation is breaking down and all they get is dictation, and then they're stuck in the situation of, we're committed, we can't back out, what do we do, where do we go?
I think there's, I don't know whether it was one of my subbies, but we spoke about this, Simon. There was with the legal jargon within the contract and making it simplified. And it's a great example where they think they've just got to sign it. I don't understand it, or I'll just sign it. And they, for all intents and purposes, they're signing their lives away. And that's a great example of giving them an outlet where just take 5 minutes, let Simon look at it and do the right thing. So that's probably the best example I can give you of what we've experienced firsthand.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just raised a point. Hi, my name's Graham Cock, and I actually represent two companies. One is a law firm called BWL Consulting. We work with Subby and again with support as well. And we support smaller contractors to get affordable access to settle disputes and things like that. But I also, I'm speaking from personal experience, I also have a demolition contracting business. It's a very, very small business. I employ 8 people. And my background is I've previously ran a £30 million group of companies that ultimately went to administration. But off the back of that, I then took some of my team and started my own business as well. Now, bringing this back to mental health, one of my experiences and what affects my mental health links to what Sophie was talking about, where lack of communication and lack of knowing and that uncertainty linked to what I'm going to be paid and when I'm going to be paid is what affects me, and that's what keeps me up. So if we just put aside the fact that the payment terms in our industry are a disgrace, if we put aside the way that subcontractors and small contractors have to accept all the risk and are not paid to take that risk is a disgrace. If we put all that aside, actually something that is very, very simple that would help my mental health in my business and then give me the confidence to tell my supply chain when they're going to be paid is if this guy up here tells me, I'm going to value your application on this day, I'll give you the notice on this day, you'll know what's going to be paid into your account on this day and it will be in your account on this day. That would allow me to sleep better at night.
Yeah.
And that doesn't cost anything.
No.
So if we put aside the fact that I'm never going to be paid what I apply for, I know that, I can deal with that. But actually just one simple step is, please tell me what I'm going to be paid, when I'm going to be paid, and when I'm going to be paid it. And then that allows me to have conversations down the chain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take an awful lot. And I think a lot of small contractors suffer from this. It's the lack of communication, and it's the radio silence from the QS or the commercial manager on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And I think I spent 8 years working for Langer Road, so I understand the main contractor environment. And I do think that, and this is not a criticism of Langer Road, incidentally, I think they're a fantastic organisation, but I think in our main contractors, do the people who I work with on a daily basis across the table, the likes of Sophie works with on a daily basis across the table, do those QSs understand the responsibility that they have in certifying payment and making sure it gets paid and how that affects the supply chain?
I think, I'm conscious of time. I think we've gone over and the tech man's probably waiting to snatch our microphones away. But yes, I don't think they do. And I think what's coming into my mind, and we've come together, and please do sort of take my business card or James's or whatever, and connect with us, because we're wanting to do something about this. You know, we're in the position to get our voices heard, and we want to do that. We want to be join the dots, connecting together. You know, we can use the power of social media, online, communication. So if we can,
platforms, I mean, I work for Tucson to tell you.
Yeah.
We've got 600 branches, but just getting everyone to connect and not talk.
Definitely.
If you don't talk, no one knows.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot we can do. I think there's been some great issues highlighted. Thank you very much, James and Sophie. And let's all sort of come together at the last minute. Thanks for listening and taking part. And please come and see us afterwards and share your details, and we'll keep in touch with you. Okay, thanks very much.